Welcome back, everyone, to episode 57 of the Minot Business Podcast, presented by Bennett Creative Media. I'm your host, Easton Bennett, and on the show today, we have Mark and Caitlyn Medalen. How are you guys today?
Doing good.
Doing great. Excited to be on. Thanks for having us.
I'm super excited to have you guys on the show. Okay, the business, it's fairly recent, and we're going to get into that. But before we get started, if you have not already, please rate and review the show. It only takes 5 seconds to leave us a rating and a review, and it really helps spread the word to new audiences and attract new guests for you guys each and every week. But what I was saying, new business, that's really what I'm excited to talk about today because it's fairly recent, right? And when we talk about businesses on the show, sometimes we have people that have been in business for 20 years. Then we have people that just started their business. It's cool to get the look from each side of the spectrum. So for the people that don't know, if they've never heard of you guys and what you guys do, what is the business? What's the name? And what's the premise of the whole business?
All right. Well, we own Dog Dude. Mark kind of is the top dog. I'm just the behind the scenes. He worked at the bank before, loved his coworkers, but wasn't passionate about his job. And I absolutely love my job. So for so long, I was like, just do something you love. Like we're young. Let's do it. And dogs happen to be the thing he loves. So we looked into getting a doggy daycare and we wanted a little bit of a different approach. And so Dog Dude it is, Dog Dude Daycare. We have 2 golden doodles that we absolutely love, Etta and Remy. And they're not crate trained. So we wanted a daycare that is a little more relaxed in that way. Okay. Granted, we have to follow different rules and we need very calm dogs and dogs that get together, but you're a good dog mom if you crate train and if you don't. And we didn't have a dog daycare here in the city that would accept dogs that weren't crate trained. So then we're like, well, that's something we can focus on, having it centrally located, having an actual facility and not running it out of the house. And then kind of running with an open approach. So it's really fun to see because as we've explored these past 3 months, they actually take pack naps. So they kind of get with each other. And once they're regulated and comfortable, they're naturally pack animals and they go back to those instincts. And so they'll take those pack naps and he's gotten 13 dogs to sleep at the same time.
Well, I was creeping on the Facebook a little bit and I saw a video of them all just sleeping on the floor. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. It was incredible. I was like, looks like the most soothing thing ever. Like I was going to lay on the floor with them and be like, I'm going to take a nap with them.
Yes. So that's kind of where our approach is. And in May, he quit. And within 30 days, we flipped a whole facility. It was basically like plywood.
Yeah, it was a old storage facility. So
So we found this great area with a big yard. We flipped the facility and we opened June 1st, but our grand opening party was June 4th because that was our very first wedding anniversary. And what better way to celebrate than a big thing like that?
So Mark, then you obviously, how long were you thinking about I want to go into something that I'm really enjoying doing? Because I know a lot of people fall into that trap where it's, they like their job and it's getting them through, it's not a bad job or anything, but it's like you feel like you want to do more. So how long were you having that feeling of, man, maybe I should do something?
So it actually started 2019 or 20.
Okay.
And I was still in college at the time and we wanted dogs, but we were both still living at home and neither of our parents would let us get a dog.
Yep.
So it originally started as Dog Dude where, okay, I can't get my own dog, so I'll do dog walkings or overnight stay at these people's houses to get my dog fix in where, so I started that I think in 2019. And then, it kind of just carried on. It was kind of just behind the scenes, extra cash type of a thing.
Yeah.
And then, started at the bank and I love my coworkers. I love being at the bank, but it just wasn't, I couldn't see myself doing it for another 40 years or so. So we kind of sat down and we're like, okay, we're young enough. We don't have, any kids or any crazy responsibilities going. So
that's the best time to do it.
It is. Yeah.
Before you got 3 little ones running around, you got $1 million house payment, whatever it is. So I didn't realize it started so long ago.
Yep. In college. Yeah. And then, kind of just grew from there. And then, so we still do kind of all the dog walking and all that other stuff. But now our kind of primary concern, I guess, is the daycare. Yeah. Just getting as many, friendly dogs into the pack as we can. And
Eventually, we'd like to get to boarding, but you can't do it all at once. So right now, sometimes we take a dog here or there at our house, but got to follow the city rules and everything. So one day, when we grow or if we grow, that's
so boarding. Maybe I'm naive, but is that the training side of things, or what's the boarding?
It's like kenneling, like overnight.
Okay,
stay at
gotcha.
our facility. Yep. So we're trying to work with the city of Minot right now to
Okay, so there's regulations around overnight
against boarding in the city limits. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. But like, since we started too, I've been very persistent that like, even though we're young and don't have an incredible amount of money, like we're still going to do it the right way.
Yeah.
And so with boarding, we were going to jump into it right away. And we kind of, like we said, we dabbled our feet in it, but we're not at a point where we have enough financials to like really make them into like a lot of different suites. Cause I don't want it just to be like a cage that a dog goes into. I want them to be comfortable, like a little home away from home. Cause that's what we would want for our dogs. And so we kind of jumped in a little bit, dipped our toes, have 1 or 2 suites at our house. And then we kind of pulled back just because we want to do it the right way. So
yeah, that's actually super smart because I could see a lot of people saying, well, this is, almost like a cash grab where it's like, well, if we add boarding, then we can make an extra X amount of dollars. You know what I mean? But if doing it right, that's going to, it's going to pay off in the long run. Mm-hmm. I like that. So then Dog Dude, was that always the name? Like in 2019 when you were doing...
Yes, except it was DUDE.
Yep. Okay.
And like the tagline was, give me a bark, my name is Mark, which is so cute. But then when we made it like into the LLC and like dove all the way in, we changed it to DOOD because we have doodles.
Oh, I like that. I was actually going to say, why dude with 2 O's compared to the UDE?
Yeah, and then it makes it stand out a little bit because it makes people kind of like wonder instead of just be like, let it cross their mind. It's like, why are they spelling it that way? So yeah.
And I think the dude, like when I hear it, I think like, dude, like, what's up, bro? And then the dog has the sunglasses. If you guys are watching this.
This is modeled after one of our dogs.
Designed it, so.
That's what I was going to ask. Okay, so the graphic design and the logo, because I really like the logo. And I personally, horrible at graphic design. And I mean, I made that myself, but like you could tell the buttons on there, the photo, it's a little janky. So your sister helped you with the design then?
Yes, and she's actually a small business. She works for Signs Today, that's locally owned here.
Okay.
And so she's the graphic designer, but they do, all kinds of stuff. So this was just a little personal project she helped us with. I mean, she's made other logos and stuff too. So we're not very creative in that way. So that was all her, and we loved it. And so she makes our shirts and our signage. And so that's one perk. Like Dog Dude looks like so official because we have signs all over the place. We have quotes and that's thanks to Courtney. So
well, maybe she can come on a podcast. I know a business podcast she can come on if she would want to.
Yeah.
We'll have that conversation after. But okay, so let's go into, the formation of the business. What was that process like? So you initially made the thought like, okay, let's run with this. What happened after that?
Yeah, it was a lot of research. Like we said, I kind of was the behind the scenes. So I like to do everything right. So we looked up, we did the LLC, like we got that nailed down right away. A family friend helped us, full family. And then I looked up into the rules and like different dog daycares across the nation, like kind of what their pricings are, what their policies are, different things like that. And so we wanted to establish all those or at least get them started before being like, okay, give us your dogs. So, I mean, like we have the liability form and everything like that. And so that was kind of the next steps. That was the not so fun part, but now we're at the fun part where we just get to love the dogs.
I was going to say, because we'll talk later in the episode about the business versus the fun side of things, which always a fun conversation, but renovation wise then. So I can't remember if you said it was 30 days or if it was you, Caitlyn, but 30 days, what did that 30 days look like? Flip it. Did you guys know like, hey, we only have 30 days or did you that's how long it took?
That was our goal.
That was our goal. Yeah. Okay. June 1st was our goal. Yeah. And originally when we kind of first started the lease and we were like, all right, let's get to it. We were like, yeah, this will be perfect. This will be easy. We'll have it done. And actually we knocked out like the first kind of main entrance area.
Yes.
Pretty quick.
Yeah. Well, mind you, we are not handymen. So if you look really close, things aren't matching up, but it's okay. The dogs don't judge.
It's like, don't look at the walls too long, please.
Yeah. Just kind of like, glance and then keep going.
That's nice. Next room.
And like we were talking earlier, anything we were in doubt with, we're like, we're going to paint it black. So it's a very black based facility, but I think that looks kind of professional in it. But our families helped a lot. I mean, my mom and dad, at one point I called them crazy because they called at 7 a.m. and they're like, let's go back. And we just like finished at 3 a.m. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I sleep in.
That would be.
Yeah. And so we renovated like the first kind of main area or main 2 areas probably in like 10 days. And we were like, this is a breeze. And then all of a sudden it was like May 28th. And we were like, we have 3 days to finish all the rest of our stuff.
Because what did the renovations look like? Was it a shell? And then you guys had to build it all up?
It was literally plywood.
Yep, it was plywood. It was just an old storage. Yep, so just a bunch of plywood. So yeah, we repainted everything. We got like that rubber flooring. And put that all over the base layer of the concrete.
Yeah. Put up some paneling.
Yep, put up paneling.
Menards paneling. Shout out Menards.
Yep. Like the logos, all that. So, and I mean, it was nice in the back, in the big dog room. There was like storage shelves already made that was in there. Okay. And so like Mark cut off the top part. And so now it's just like a big ramp and play area. So that kind of worked in our favor. And that room isn't like completely done, so to say, but like dogs don't judge. They just want to play. So
that's the nice part. The dogs are probably like, this is awesome.
Yeah. Just a big player.
And there's a big outdoor area. So in the summer, I mean, I think they're mainly outside.
Yeah. Yep. We spend a lot of time outside. And the only time basically that we're inside during the summer is like when they're napping, or like if it's super hot, I'll, take them inside just to let them kind of reset, get some water, cool off.
Or if I come and do some art projects.
Or yep.
That's actually what I was going to ask you. The next place I wanted to go is location. So what did the location process look like for finding a place for this? Because I assume in your head you had an idea of what you wanted. You probably wanted an outdoor space, the size of facility you wanted. What did that search process look like?
Well, we looked at a few, and they kind of did a group effort because we were working with two of them. And then the guy who actually owns the area, he's part of that as well. So he's like, oh, I have this area. So we were like looking at different places downtown, and obviously it had to be a little budget friendly. And so one of the other realtors was like, this idea. So it kind of just got bounced around and got sent to us. And we're like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. Especially because of that outdoor space is what sold it. I mean, we kind of have to work with it because we have to add AC, and then in the winter, obviously, like it's our manual heating. Like we have to turn it on and off and just make sure everything's good. But in the long run, I mean, that's not hard stuff to figure out. And so, it works, especially with that outdoor area. So that was one of our main things we were looking for that we couldn't find in a lot of properties. Because the city of Minot's only so big. So we kind of hit a jackpot. They just showed it to us and we're like, absolutely, like this is great.
I was going to say, was it, walk in and then you thought, this is the space?
Well, walk in.
She's the visioner. I'm not. We walked in, and again, like it was a storage place, so there was a good amount of stuff kind of just scattered everywhere. And I walked in, and I was like, oh boy. And she was like, this is gonna be black. These are gonna come down. We're gonna put this stuff right here. This is this. I have it all. And I was like,
our parents too were a little bit like, oh, this is great. And now it looks amazing. But thanks to Pinterest.
Yeah. Oh, Pinterest it's unbelievable. So learning that stuff, then not more so the visionary stuff, but you had to learn a bunch of business things, right? Like you have to figure out you're going to need capital for the property. You're going to figure out all this business stuff. Did you have a mentor or people that were helping out with that? Or how did you learn? Because I think a lot of people, you guys are young. You started a business young. That's a little bit different where, some people might start a business later in life when they have quote unquote more wisdom.
Sure.
But you had to figure stuff out early. What did that look like? Who were you learning from? How did you learn all this stuff?
Well, Mike helped us with the LLC right away. He has OxyFresh here in Minot. And so he's helped us because he already understood that world a little bit. And if I'm being totally honest, it kind of benefited that we're a little young and dumb because we jumped into it and it was like, this is great.
Ignorance
and then when like all the money started hitting, like I'd be at work and I'd be like, oh, was this a great idea? But it is. But I mean, you always have those moments of doubt. So I'm glad we're kind of impulsive and we're like, we're going to do it. We're young. Let's do it. So I feel like that kind of had a good play for us because it is kind of a new concept. Like his grandparents at first were, what are you doing?
Confused.
Like dogs go to daycare.
Yep.
So I think that benefited us a little bit. And then we had those right mentors that already had, and then you learn as you go. So
a lot of family resources that we used. Yep.
Yeah, and the internet. I mean,
the internet's a great resource.
I think it bodes well for having some blind confidence.
Yeah.
I think you go into a business, you're so gung ho, like there's no way this could ever fail. And then you're like, how could we fail? And then you get into some of that stuff, like you said, you get into the weeds, and you're like, all right, this is going to be a little bit harder than I maybe thought, but that's what's fun about it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And like looking back, I mean, it's only been 3 months and we've already been like, woo, up and down. But like looking back, it's kind of fun that you had those moments too. It's not fun in the moment, but it's fun looking back and being like, I remember praying last month, like, please give us like 2 more dogs. And now we're good. So,
well, that's what's crazy about the beginning of businesses. I always love to hear people's beginning stories because I remember, I've told this story a bunch of times, but like my first year ever doing business, I started in like May, so I had like 8 months or 9 months, whatever it is. And I made like $8,000. I was like, how am I going to live off $8,000 a year? And then, it just works. I don't know. I don't even know how it worked. I was like, stuff just figures itself out. So that's what's exciting to hear. You know, those beginning struggles, they seem like they just suck horribly, but I feel like it's part of the process.
And it gives you some appreciation when you are doing well or watching it grow. Then it's like, okay, like it just wasn't bright sunshine and rainbows the whole time. It's like, okay, now this feels extra good. So
Yeah.
So do you guys have any advice for people that are maybe starting a business where it's more so brick and mortar, where they have to either get a facility or some sort of location? What would be a couple tidbits that you guys learned along the way that you could maybe shorten the learning curve for somebody that's going to do it, let's say tomorrow?
Yeah, well, I think definitely the support system makes a big deal because when you start doubting yourself, those are the people that step in and then you're like, yes, okay, I'm good. And then two, just believing in yourself and staying persistent, because I feel like there was times where we could have been like, oh, like I'm scared, like let's just throw in the towel, it's fine, it's just still early, you know. But I think if you stay persistent and believe in yourself, hey, it might not work, but it also could. And so like that's kind of what we always relied on. I'm like, the worst thing that could happen is Mark goes and gets a regular job again, which he has a degree for and he can do, but what if, you know? And so staying optimistic. What do you think?
And then just, I would say like just using the resources around Minot, like especially for if you're looking for, you know, a building for whatever, you know, the case may be, like Kate said earlier, you know, like we at Signal, there was 3 or 4 people bouncing around ideas like, hey, this, you know, they could use this, what would work? So, just using the outside resources.
Oh, and one, there's people like you. Sorry, I'm interrupting. But like people like you who are sharing the word, and like don't forget that the people of Minot, like if you are giving quality care, quality services, they will share. It will be word of mouth. And so, it might be slow at first, but the city of Minot itself is so great. And like, we're so focused on little things like this that makes a huge difference. And you kind of just have to have that blind trust in the community as well. But I think almost always they'll pull through for you.
Word of mouth is awesome because I always look at the compound growth chart or whatever it is. Like everyone starts at 0 and it's really hard to get that first little ramp going. But once people start talking, and I assume you guys have experienced that quite a bit. Is a lot of it word of mouth?
Well, we have a few dogs. Sorry, I interrupted again. And so they come a lot. They share it with their friends. They share it on Facebook. And not only are we making them happy, but then they're helping us in so many more ways by just like sharing that way. But also they make connections too. So like business beats. Minot
business beats,
Minot deals, different things like that. They were friends with one of our dogs, and now we're doing it with them. And so it's just cool to make those connections as well.
Okay. So let's dive into the connections, but first we're going to hear from this week's sponsor, Midco. Is your business moving up and to the right? Put Midco's business technology to work for you so you never have a slow day at the office. From premium internet and phone plans to custom private networking and advertising, they have a solution for every type of business, large or small. Get paired with an account representative to create your suite of services and make the switch with ease with dedicated business client fulfillment and support teams. No data caps, flexible contracts with month-to-month or long-term options, built-in DDoS protection, and more. Explore your services and request a free consultation at midco.com/business today. I've been a Midco user ever since I started my business, ever since I've been throwing footage to the cloud for the last 5 years. So if you guys want to check that out, midco.com/business. All right, so let's get back into the questions here. We talked a little bit about the connections you've made throughout the community. And when I got a business, I was super gung-ho that I want to do everything myself, right? I'm like, I'm going to be successful and just do it myself. And then I slowly realized that the partnerships and collaborations you do only help your business. You mentioned a couple of them. How did those partnerships and collaborations come about? How did you formulate them? And what was that whole process like?
Well, one of our regular dogs that comes nearly every day now, his dog mama came and she just opened a small business, Ascend Wellness. And so she kind of was a few months or ahead of us in finding those collaborations and stuff. So she gave us a few ideas and Minot Deals was one of them. And that's with iHeartRadio. And so instead of having to pay for advertisements on the radio, they have this app that we give them services and they can sell it on their behalf. And then the, compensation is that we get a radio ad instead. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So it's kind of instead of we're paying them to do, it's kind of like a trade-off. And not only that, I mean, now we get radio ads and through the Minot Deals app, they also see what is Dog Dude? And so I think it's a win-win for us. They actually wrote the ads. So it was real fun. We just recorded them.
I was going to say, Thursday. I think I just heard it.
Oh, you heard it?
I swear I heard
You
dog
might
dude somewhere.
have. Oh my gosh, we have to
Maybe it's
hear
already
it still.
gone. Yeah.
Maybe I'm just in this la la land where I didn't hear it, but I feel like did you record it? I felt like I heard your voice.
Yeah, we were both in on
And the bark is also our dog. So if you hear it again.
I think I swear I probably heard it because there's a bark in it.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Maybe I'm a little
you
ridiculous
may
here,
be
but
right.
I maybe heard it.
Yeah,
Did they
well, we're
give you-
patiently waiting. So.
Did they give you a date on when it would be out or no?
I don't.
They probably did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. We
Okay.
just are like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, we're just excited to get it going.
Yeah, but the bartering's cool. I like that trade-off. You know, I've done that with people in my industry where it's like, hey, you help me with this project, I'll help you with that. So if you can find those collaborations and partnerships, I think it's huge. As far as the networking aspect of things goes, how do you know, it's hard to say like how do you meet these people because I'm sure it's people you know, but how are you guys putting yourself out there as far as networking goes, if at all?
I think social media makes a big difference. And like you said, the people you know does help. But also like once you meet a person and then you meet another person and we're a small community. So you just can bounce around like that. And so social media is also great. We've gotten a lot of comments on that. And social media can honestly be exhausting. I'm sure you know, like it seems like an easy gig. And my dad is like, oh, these influencers are so easy. But I'm like, oh, some days I just look at my phone. I'm like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's horrible. Sometimes like I have so many messages and it's not even like social media all the time. Well, mainly it is. But you have a comment and I have this page, Bennett Created Media, the personal page, and you get a comment here that you get a reply to and then a message and then you got so much. It's almost overwhelming.
Yes. But I'm thankful for it all. And I'm sure you're thankful for all the comments too. But it is kind of like a hidden thing of businesses that people don't think is a lot of work, but it ends up being a lot of work. And two, I mean, if depending on how specific you are, like I want the same color scheme.
Yep.
I want these clear photos. Like if I need some content, I'll text Mark, like you need good pictures of dogs today, like good ones.
So I was going to say the aesthetic look on the Instagram grid's probably more.
That's all her. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm just during the day, I'll take the pictures and the videos, but that's pretty much to the extent of what I'll do. Then I'll text them to her or wait till I get home that night. And then, iCloud them to her and she'll come up with the post names and go from
And
there.
we like
But
doing like a pun on dog words and stuff like that.
I saw
So-
one because I was creeping on you guys to do research for this episode and one you used familiar.
That
and
was
I
Mark's
like,
idea.
Really?
I
Okay.
was so proud. I was like texting him. I'm like, where'd you find it?
I read it and I was like, this isn't a real word. Oh, actually, it's good. This is a good little addition here. So then, okay, that's a good route we can go then. You obviously both work hand in hand in the business. It's good to have one where it's more so, hey, I'm focused on the business side of things. You're maybe focused more so on the art, creative side of things. How do you guys manage that together? What is it like working with a partner?
I will say there were times because me and
Right
Mark
away,
are
at the
still like in the
beginning.
honeymoon phase of our relationship 7 years later, which is great.
Yep.
But there's some times where I was like, oh my gosh, like I will walk in, he calls me HR now, just like generally
HR.
all day, not just about the business, all day. And I'll walk in and I'll like have a list. I'm like, all right, there's weeds. There's a chip in this wall. You got to do this. And so like at times I feel like he could have got very frustrated with me because he's like, I just want to play with the dogs. Like I was doing this and this and this. And I just noticed all these little things. And so we did butt heads at first. Lately it's been real great.
Right away.
But it's definitely finding a balance and ultimately knowing that we love each other. And so like, is that frustration that the business sometimes causes worth our relationship? And it's not. So we just talk it through. So communication is really important.
Yeah. And like she said, kind of right away, I think we were kind of butting heads about it. But after, it just kind of like one day passed. Then all of a sudden it was like, okay, like
We're good.
I'm handling all this stuff. She's kind of handling all this stuff. And
Do you break it down like that? Like, hey, here's your responsibilities, here's mine, or is it just kind of a
It
mutual?
and I
little
feel
bit,
like it just
yeah.
kind of happened. Like it was a flow. Like and establishing that flow is where we were butting heads. And now like I kind of know like he's gonna do that, I'm gonna do this, and we just kind of stay in our own lanes.
Okay. So what would you say if people are deciding, hey, I want to start a business with a partner, whether it's their, romantic partner or if it's just like a partner that it's a friend or something? What would be
I
some
think
advice?
you have to have that boundary. Sorry, you can talk too.
you go ahead.
Okay. Well, I think you just have to always remember, and especially going into it, like, this is how much this relationship means to me. And if we get to this point, like, we need to stop for our own, like, relationship. And so I think that's important to, like, set those ground rules almost, because it is easy to, especially, like, because businesses can be stressful, and to let that take over your life or whatever and forget to go on dates or, like, watch an episode because we have so much to do. But it's like, no, like, yes, we have the business. Yes, like, that's our responsibility in all ways now, but also like it's important. Like, for example, one of the things is my parents kept pushing him to work on Fridays and Saturdays, and that would be great for dog people, but it also like he's working 40 hours a week, Monday through Thursday. And so you have to have that boundary, like work-life balance almost. And so that was kind of something that we had to get stern on. Like, no, like what he's doing is enough right now, and we have to stay healthy from the start.
Yeah. This is the business time. That's one thing I fall victim to sometimes. It's, and my girlfriend gets mad at me, but it's okay. You don't need to work 16 hours today. And I'm like, but there's just so much stuff you can do, where you do have to draw that line in the sand. That, you know, this is work time, business time, and you do have to have some bit or you'll burn out. Have you guys ran into any burnout?
No, we've been pretty steady on it. And just, I think that kind of just comes with knowing, or not knowing, but kind of just following like what almost you're best at. Like, I know I'm not good with social media and all that stuff, so I kind of hand that stuff off to her. And then, when the dogs come, that's just kind of my cup of tea, and I'll hang out with them. And then, sometimes.
Well, I have the perk of going to my job too. So sometimes I'm just like, bye.
Yep. Have fun. So let's talk about, we'll talk about the dogs and social media, but let's go social media first. If we're talking about advice on growing the social, I really like your guys' social media page. You know, the images. I don't know if that's you taking them, the first day images. Those are my favorite. So I don't know if you're taking those, they're good. So she can't complain about those. But the social media, how do you go about that to structure a social media that people want to go and actually see the content?
Yeah. So when we were browsing like different dog daycares around the state, nation, different things like that, one thing that I noticed is like they would post 30, 40 pictures at a time. And I was like, even if I was the dog mom, I don't think I'd have time to just sit there and look through the pictures, especially if they're not like, I don't know, like intentful pictures, you know?
Yeah.
So we have a separate group for our dog parents where we do that, where we post like 10 pictures at a time. So if they want to see their babies while they're at work, they can. But we also wanted to keep a professional business page. And so that's where Dog Dude is. So the parents can still see those photos, but also the general public. And it's more like photos with intent, like funny little pickup lines, the first day of daycare pictures, things like that. So it's just more intentional of a page. So we have two separate ones.
That's smart.
Yeah.
I've never heard about two different pages where like, okay, these are our true diehard, like I want to see every picture of every dog ever. And then like, here's our business marketing side of things.
Yes.
Okay, cool. That's
and I mean, it works well. The parents will comment more so on that VIP page, we call it. And like we can put updates and they can see the little itty bitty gritty videos and stuff. But the Dog Dude page you see now, or that people will look up, it's kind of like, I would follow that even if my dog didn't go to daycare because they're cute pictures, and who doesn't want to see dogs? So
exactly. And that's what gets people to stop scrolling. They'll be scrolling like, dog, I'm going to look at that picture.
And life can be hard and dogs are happy. And so just look at the pictures of dogs.
Exactly. So then the dog side of things, your day to day, you're obviously taking care of the dogs, playing with the dogs. What is that like? How do you maintain that you're keeping a high level of service? Like, especially for people, I'm sure you guys are the same way. You love your dogs a lot, and giving them over to somebody else is sometimes can be overwhelming, where it's like, well, hopefully they're not eating my dogs or anything like that, which is an extreme example. But how do you maintain that trust with your clients? What do you call them? Clients, customers, patients? All the above.
Customers, probably,
yeah. So how do you maintain that trust?
I think it kind of just builds over time. Like, initially, some of our regulars now, at the beginning, kind of when we started, we're coming like maybe 1 or 2 days a week, just kind of, and then just as it built and, as that trust grew with the pictures kind of going online and stuff, they'd see, me playing with their dog, giving their dog treats, making sure their dog's, inside still sleeping, because dogs do need more sleep during the day than, we do. And just kind of seeing all that throughout the day and, building that trust with me. And then, so now, some of those dogs will end up coming, every day now, just as that trust has grown and stuff.
I think two dogs don't lie. So another one of our dogs that comments a doodle, she says she's been living her best life. And it's because when the dog gets there, she's like whining and whimpering and so excited. And actually just last week, one of our dogs were so excited to see their friends. They tried to jump the door and literally broke it off the hinges. We were mad because we're like, you're so happy, but he couldn't wait the 1 second to open the door because he was so excited to see his friends. And like, if I was a dog mom and I saw that, like, I'd be like, oh, they like it here. Like, obviously they're not getting hurt or anything. And two, since we have that open pack approach we talked about in the beginning, we're very selective, so to say, of dogs. So like they have a temperament test, and if they're disrupting the pack or something, we have a quiet, sound absorbing room that we can put them in to kind of regroup because I mean, just like humans, sometimes you just need a minute and like, okay.
Yeah.
And
there's dog punching bags back there.
Yeah. And so, and then if we keep reintroducing them and it's just not flowing, we will have them come for pickup. And we did have to send a dog away for training just because it wasn't meshing well. And so we do regulate that. And since he's there 24/7, like he can see the behaviors. And if one's getting agitated, he's like, all right, like let's move over here. So it's safe throughout it all. But we've been very, very fortunate that most of our dogs are like super friendly. They all get along. So oftentimes we don't even have to separate them per gates. And Mark can actually leave the door open, and then they have the freedom to kind of like sit in the doorway and watch if they want, or come out and explore. And so that's something we're really lucky to. But if we get a dog that needed some space, we have the means to do it.
So this is a little bit of plug for you guys now. Is it just big dogs, little dogs, any dogs? What is it? What's it like?
It's all dogs. Yep. Yeah. So initially kind of, right now we have a lot. It's mainly just big dogs. But we do have the means to kind of separate them if needed. You know, if some of the big dogs weren't being necessarily nice or they just weren't meshing well, we can kind of separate the big dogs and the small dogs. But like Kate said, we've kind of been lucky up to this point to where they've all meshed well. So we have had some small dogs introduced to the pack that they all get along well. I mean, it's funnier, too, because syndrome. The big dogs will lay down. And you'll see the smaller 3-pound dog jump on it and tug its ear and bite it. And I'm like,
what's going on
3-pound dog is beating you up. What's happening?
And we're very transparent. Like if the dogs just isn't a fit for daycare, we're going to let them know. Because I mean, some older dogs that haven't been with a big pack, they're like, what the heck's going on?
Like
I'm stressed out. So we let them know. I mean, if your dog is like blind or something, I probably wouldn't send them. So I think there's a little common sense, but also we're very transparent. We have a little report card the first day. And so we'll mark on there like, I don't know if this is the best fit for your dog specifically, but
yeah.
And it's great too, because this kind of just goes back to like building trust too. A lot of the time on the VIP Facebook page or like texting, you know, we'll get pictures and they'll be like, we just got home and our dog walked, you know, and laid on the dog bed and hasn't got up. It's out for the rest of the night. So it's
that's good. They can get out and get exercise. Where if someone's at work and your dog has to stay in the house or something, you know?
Now during school too, it's really
the kids
been
can't
nice.
play with them all day.
Kids can't play with them all day.
So this kid will play with them all day.
This really big kid.
If your kids can't, our kids will. Okay, so let's get into the future of Dog Dude a little bit. You know, projecting, what do you guys want this to look like? Let's say, you know, a year down the road, 5 years down the road, 10 years. Do you want a bigger facility? Do you like to keep it small how it is? What is your thoughts?
So one of our primary things when we were looking for the facility was to have it centrally located because, I mean, there are a few dog daycares like outside of city limits and stuff, which are great. And if you live outside the city limit, perfect, like on your way, whatever. But I'm one of the people that like waking up 20 minutes early is hard for me and I will not do it. And so driving 10 minutes out of town to come back 10 minutes into town, I'm like, absolutely not. So that's something we really love. So we would like to keep the in-town location because it's like on your way to the Mesa. So it's a nice spot. But we would like to expand and it kind of will have to expand with our life as well. Like you said, I mean, it's a very personal business. And so as our funds grow or whatever, we would like to get a house outside of the city of Minot and then hopefully have like a shop where we can board. Cause that's another priority is we want the dogs to be by us, like where we can go help if they need us. And so we would have to wait until we obviously have the funds to be able to buy outside of Minot. So hopefully in the next few years, but you know, it's life. You never know what's going to happen. Just hope for the best.
And that's what's exciting to project to the future. Is that something where you guys have thought about like, okay, we're in Minot now. Would you ever want, you know, there's a Dog Dude Minot, there's one in Bismarck, there's one Fargo, Grand Forks.
I don't think we've ever really thought about that. And just, right now, maybe we haven't really.
I think that the primary where we would be growing would be boarding. Just because that's a need we've seen a lot, and like we're comfortable with our daycare dogs because we already have a great relationship with them. But we'd like to offer that service. So I think first we would go that direction, and then maybe like and this is going a little crazy, but you know the TikToks.
Give me the craziness.
Well, the TikToks with the dog bus.
Okay.
What if we kept our central location, had our house in Burlington for boarding? If the dogs are boarding, we can bus them out,
bus them in and out,
pick them up. You know, I don't know, a little crazy, but it would be fun. And then when my dad retires or something like that, he could be the bus driver. I mean, what a job picking up dogs on a bus.
That's when people say, you know, they don't work a day in their life if they do something they love. You're just driving dogs around
driving,
the bus.
Driving them
now
to
I hope
either
your phone was
daycare.
listening, so you'll get ads.
Exactly. It's always listening. I don't think you could even could turn that feature off. No, that's awesome. But yeah, I like to see where people are thinking, 10, 15 years if they want to have this dog daycare empire across the nation, or if they, because there's a beauty in keeping it not small, but like just local,
locally,
like you don't need to have a thing in, Mississauga or wherever. It's like, we got a location down there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's cool. So let's, a couple more questions here for you. Let's do a Mount Rushmore of business advice, things that maybe surprised you that if you could tell people, you tell them, if you were giving a business course and you're like, I got to give some advice to these people. Usually I do 4 per guest. We got 2 of you. We'll do 2 each and you can bounce back and forth.
Okay.
So whoever wants to start, you can take her away.
I would say definitely up there is just ask questions, and that's not just, well, for one, like to yourself, like really sit down and say, okay, is this something not only, that I want to be doing for the next year, but, long term, 5-10 years down the road.
Yeah.
Like Kate said earlier, 10 years from now, maybe we'll be in Burlington and I'll be driving a bus filled with, 10, 20 dogs around. So ask questions, not only to yourself, but then just, to your resources. If you're working, with somebody else, if you have a business partner, just make sure, you guys are transparent with each other. You both kind of know what's going on, where you guys want to, be with the business. And then, just anybody else you may be working with, realtors, the internet, Pinterest, wherever you can get your questions answered. I mean, or whatever questions you have, you can always get them answered from, anybody.
Mine's a little cheesy, but it's definitely believe in yourself, because small businesses are run by the heart and passion behind it. And if you start doubting yourself and where you wanted it to be, like when you started, then the business isn't going to succeed. Like you need to continue to believe in yourself, continue to have that passion. And like we talked about a little earlier, that's easy to lose when it's stressful. And so if you write it down or put it on your mirror or something like that, or have someone like, that's a perk of us being together, is reminding them like, this is why we pursued this. That's why small businesses succeed.
Okay. I like that one.
Well, and when people use your services,
Yeah.
but the heart.
Yes. It starts with the heart. Second starts with customers.
Yes.
All right. One more for each of you. Mark, you got one more?
Do you have another one?
Well, you gotta give me a minute.
I had one, but I don't know why I lost it.
He's just admiring your answer. So he's like, I forgot mine.
I was like, this is a really good answer. I thought
He's like, I think that one was mine. Actually, you took that one.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be anything crazy either. Something simple.
I guess start small, but like do it well. Kind of like how we talked. We prioritize the right things, but also accept that you can't necessarily do everything right away. And when you talk to people, they're going to understand that too, especially as a small business. Like you're not being funded by anyone on the outside. So like you might just have to be like, okay, I can provide for, in our case, maybe 4 dogs right now and then extend. Or we were lucky that we can take like 10 to 15. So that's pretty good for us. But obviously you still have hopes of expanding, and we do have to accept the fact like this is what we can do right now. And we have to be content with that, and that's okay.
And be willing to grow down the road.
Yes,
exactly. Yeah. And then I would say just like set a plan too. A plan being kind of like a financial plan almost. If you're, starting a business and okay, I do need outsource of funds for, whatever renovations, getting this started going. Don't just take out as much as you can, set a dollar amount and say, okay, we're going to use, $100 here, $1,500 here. And, we did that too. We sat down and Kate made a big spreadsheet of everything we needed. And we kind of,
I had to choose the cheaper wallpaper that did not have sunglasses.
So we kind of sat down and we had a plan for how much we wanted to do, and then kind of go from there. And then, just plan out.
And you can do more than you think. We're not handymen, but I mean, we saved a lot of money by painting and doing, and you learn as you grow in that.
As you go,
Now we think we can kind of do anything, even though we can't. But
that's what I tell myself too. I'm trying to build a bar in my basement. I'm like, this is easy, and then I'm like, all right, I need another saw. But no, that's awesome, you guys. Last question I got for you: where can people find you?
Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
There you go. So if you guys are looking to check out Mark and Caitlyn's services, Dog Dude, check it out. Fantastic for your dogs to go hang out, and hopefully in the coming months to years we can see some boarding. Thank you guys very much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That is episode 57 of the Minot Business Podcast. Thank you guys again for listening and watching, and we will see you guys next week for episode 58.